prevent coagulation. Like, because it's often
Ooh,
served
I love how she described the crunchiness of it and the tenderness of the interior. Shema, hey guys, I recently learned a Polish way of greeting, and Shema means hi or hello. And today we are going to be checking out 25 Polish food you need to try. I'm so excited to be doing this one. If you've been on the channel and you've heard me talk about food, you will know I'm a food kind of person. I like checking out different food, though I'm not going to, satisfy my taste bud by doing some testing right now, but it's a means for me to diversify into other people and country food. But if you're new on the channel, I am Stella. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please consider liking, subscribe to the channel. Also feel free to use the Buy Me Coffee link. This channel also have a membership platform, and I'm also very active on Patreon. Those are the platform I post my musical reactions. Thank you guys so much for checking out those links, and let's get right into today's.
you have a hankering for some sausage, cabbage, or a pastry that resembles the mountains of central.
Oh, you guys, I checked out a blog post on Google, and he actually spoke about Polish food, and he said they actually do a lot of food with cabbage. And personally, to the writer, he actually do not like it. So today I'm going to be checking out those food based from cabbage he do not like, and yeah, I'm so excited.
Europe, it sounds like you're in the mood for some Polish cuisine. Here's what you should try. Cabbage grows abundantly in Poland's cool weather, along with the
Oh
likes
wow.
of beets, carrots, and potatoes. Add to that the fact that one of their cuisine's traditional flavor combinations is sweet and sour, and it quickly becomes clear why such stuffed cabbage is such a popular and ubiquitous dish. Same goes for rolled cabbage, or gołąbki, as it's known in the Polish language. Stuffed cabbage rolls are filled with any kind of chopped meat, usually pork, mixed with rice, which is a
Oh
great way
wow.
to stretch a relatively small amount of meat into a meal for a whole family. The mixture is seasoned with garlic and paprika before being rolled in cooked cabbage leaves. The rolls are served in a tomato-based sauce that features both sweet and sour flavors. One potential recipe you can try uses a sprinkle of brown sugar and a spoonful of lemon juice to achieve that perfect flavor balance. Bigos is a meat-based stew with sauerkraut, potato.
Have you had that meal, the stuffed cabbage wrap? I'm just imagining how it would taste. Cabbage as a vegetable, I like it, and then stuffed with meat and rice. I'm just trying to put those tastes together in my mouth. It's gonna taste great. I think so.
Bacon, and kielbasa, a Polish sausage that we'll be discussing in more detail in a little bit. It's also one of those dishes that mirrors Poland's cultural and geographical evolution. While Bigos is so closely associated with Poland that it's often been called the country's national dish, its
Oh
inclusion
wow.
of sauerkraut would appear to indicate a German influence. Either way, that sauerkraut, like the rice and rolled cabbage, is a great way to stretch out
Cabbage
a small
again.
amount of meat for a hungry family or other large group. As noted by
The cabbage wrap has a lot of things to do with stretching out meat for a large family. And now this bakeries again. Okay.
Atlas, Polish cuisine prides itself in hearty and comforting dishes, and Bigos has been present in the Polish culinary tradition since the 17th century. A
Oh
number of
wow.
Polish recipes suggest that
Oh
Bigos
wow.
preparation should begin at least 2 days before it is to be eaten, so that it can be cooked once and then reheated twice more, presumably to deepen the flavor. Furthermore, during the long cooking process, it's a good idea to dilute the Bigos with wine, and traditionally, one accompanies Bigos with a shot of Polish vodka. A pierogi
Oh
refers to a
wow.
dumpling of Polish origin that can be
Oh
filled
wow,
with
this looks
almost
so
anything,
good.
whether it's meat, kashi, vegetables, cheese, or even sweets like fruit and
Chocolate.
chocolate. Pierogi is actually the plural form, which is why you'll never see us putting an S at the end of the word. Apart from the spelling challenge that it offers to English speakers, pierogi is, as noted by CNN, undoubtedly Poland's most famous and simple comfort food. From street food spots to fancy restaurants, they can be found pretty much everywhere in Poland.
Oh
Although
wow.
pierogi is a dish closely associated with Poland, it may also have Russian roots as well, which makes sense when you consider the extended Soviet occupation of Poland. You may already be familiar with pierogi as they are very popular not only in Poland, but in the United States as well. So you can probably already order them up from your favorite delivery app, or you can find a
It's having this shape, a samosa shape-ish kind of, and I love samosa so much, and I want to try this out. Sorry, what is it filled with?
Simple
She hasn't
recipe and
actually
prepare
said
a
that.
batch yourself. If you're getting serious about your relationship with a Polish significant other and you get invited to dinner with your potential future in-laws, you'd better hope that the Polish soup czernina isn't on the menu. If you are, in fact, served czernina, you should take it as a hint that your relationship is on the road to nowhere. While there are certainly easier ways to give a suitor the slip, there are few that are quite so delicious as czernina. It's a thick, creamy soup made from duck blood that's drained straight from the duck and then placed in vinegar so as to prevent coagulation. Like stuffed cabbage rolls, czernina.
Come on, stuffed duck blood. I'm still trying to process that. Do you mean stuffed dog blood, like blood, Blood?
A
Wow.
sweet and sour flavor, in this case from a combination of vinegar and dried fruits like prunes. The name czernina refers to the color of the soup, which is black thanks to all that blood. According to Gastro Obscura, thick, creamy, and iron-rich, this black soup might be worth risking rejection. Kashanka is a blood sausage made from a mixture of buckwheat groats, pig's blood, and various parts of the pig that would otherwise be tossed into the garbage as offal, including the intestines, which are used to encase this popular Polish delicacy. Kashanka is also sometimes called kishkas in certain parts of the world. According to the August
You eat a lot of blood related food. I don't know why. You guys, they always give my honest reaction, yeah. And I'm not a fan of this blood related food and the pig blood kind of sausage and the dog blood. No. I don't know how it to taste. I'm not trying to be biased or sketchy at any point, but here's my honest reaction. For me, is a no. I'm so sorry, but
Coffee
nah.
School of Culinary Arts, blood actually holds an esteemed place in Polish
And then the
cuisine and other
intestine.
culinary cultures,
No.
as it adds not only a deep color but also a richness to many dishes. The Iskafie school actually doesn't specifically mention kashanka in this context, but kashanka nonetheless represents an admirable use of blood in cooking. Rather, it's more likely that kashanka is considered a peasant dish. It is, after all, made from the lower parts of the pig, plus buckwheat to stretch those parts out even further. Kalachki are light pastries that some might consider cookies. They have a sweet fruit filling and are sprinkled with powdered sugar. According to Tony Clary, an American who has
At one glance, I'm going to tear and rip all the pieces of this dish apart. I love it. I love it.
spent 23 years living and
It
working
looks
near
so
Warsaw,
good.
Poland, they're usually prepared around holidays or weddings, and they sit out on a table or counter so that sweets are handy for coffee or tea. But why wait for once a year to enjoy this cream cheese enriched pastry that Clary believes came about thanks to Polish, Ukrainian, Jewish interaction? As
Oh
with
wow,
a
a lot
number of
of
other dishes on this
faces.
roundup
Touch
of
it.
fabulous Polish foods, Kalachki is beloved in Poland and recognizes no borders, as it also boasts fans in Russia, Austria, the Czech Republic, and Denmark, among others. You may already be familiar with a variation known as rugeluk, which is a tradition on the tables of Jewish people who can trace their roots to Central and/or Eastern Europe. However, while rugeluk refers to a horn-shaped pastry, kalachki are meant to resemble a flower in bloom. And while kalachki is always stuffed with fruit, rugeluk may be filled with nuts, raisins, or seeds. You might not associate Poland with cheese making, but once you taste osypek, a wonderful smoked cheese made from salted sheep's milk, it's unlikely you'll ever forget that Poland is the only place in the world where this particular cheese is made.
Wow.
Specifically, osypek is produced solely in Poland's Tatra Mountains, and even more specifically, it's made only by Górale, who are traditional shepherds and Tatra cheesemakers. Nevertheless, you'll likely be able to find osypek almost everywhere in the country. Osypek is typically served grilled in order to highlight the hardness of its rind and the tenderness of its interior. Because it's often served with cranberry jam as a condiment, it might call to mind brie, but
I love how she described the crunchiness of it and the tenderness of the interior. Oh my god. I want some. I want some of it. It's looking
once
so
you
good.
taste it, you'll never get ocipit confused with that French-based aged wheel of cheese.
Spill the cheese!
Silesian kluski refers to a soft, unfilled dumpling made with potato that may call to mind Italian gnocchi and German spätzle. It's also worth noting that the word kluski, without the Silesian prefix, can also refer to certain kinds of soup noodles. Silesia itself is a historical subdivision of southwestern Poland that also crosses into the Czech Republic and Germany. Silesian kluski bears a strong physical resemblance to Italian potato gnocchi. However,
Wow.
Silesian kluski is flattened and has an indentation on one side. As you might surmise, that indentation is there to help the dumpling cook faster. And also,
Wow.
according to Lois Britton, the blogger behind Polish Housewife, the shape is a wonderful repository for whatever topping is paired with the dumpling. It has been said on many occasions that there is no dessert that's associated with the United States as much as apple pie. Hot dogs might run a close second, even though they're not typically a dessert, although the two have recently been working quite harmoniously together in Guy Fieri's apple pie hot dog recipe. But here's a fun fact that
Apple
comes to
pie
us from
hot
Tony
dog.
Clary. The Polish apple-filled pastry known as szarlotka is basically the apple pie that Americans are used to. In fact, just like apple pie, szarlotka is often served with ice cream. So when you hear szarlotka, think apple pie. And don't think of Charlotte Russe, as you might be inclined to do so considering that szarlotka certainly sounds like it would be related to that ladyfingers and custard-based trifle. Charlotte Russe is considered a French dessert despite its moniker, which is believed to be a call-out to Russian Tsar Alexander I. Meanwhile, the Polish szarlotka would probably prefer that you not associate it in any way with Russia. Another food that some consider to be Poland's national dish is schabowa. The word schabowa means chop in Polish, which makes sense when you learn that this dish is a boneless pork chop that's been pounded thin and then coated with egg, breadcrumbs, and flour before being fried to crispy perfection in hot oil. Schabowa is sometimes referred to as kotlet schabowa, and this may be for the purpose of highlighting that it's supposed to be made with a pork chop cutlet instead of an on-the-bone chop. Schabowa is traditionally served with potatoes and cabbage, although it may also be served with grated beetroot or sauerkraut. If schabowa looks somewhat familiar to you, it may be because it reminds you of schnitzel, another pounded cutlet of meat that is battered and fried. Schnitzel tends to be a bit more commonly known in the US, particularly in areas with a significant history of German immigration. As noted by the blog Tasting Poland, although Polish cuisine seems to have an inclination towards time-consuming and laborious recipes, there are also some Polish foods that are both tasty and simple and fast to prepare. One such example of the latter is the traditional soup known as ogórkowa, which means cucumber soup. It is sometimes known as sour cucumber soup or Polish pickle soup, as it's made with many of the ingredients that are associated with the preparation of sour pickles, like cucumbers, garlic, bay leaves, and peppercorns. As Poland.travel noted in its roundup of the 7 meals anyone traveling to Poland should try, nothing warms up the belly like the Polish cucumber soup. It is a consistent and tasty dish with lots of ingredients like bacon, sour pickled cucumbers, leek, carrots, celery, pepper, parsnip, and many more. Another reason for ogórkowa's popularity is that it stores well, which means it can be prepared ahead of time and heated up as needed. Thick, white, enriched with kielbasa and garnished with hard-cooked egg, Zurich is a classic Polish soup that gets its deep sour tang from fermented rye flour. According to CNN, it's the perfect Polish comfort food, and it's considered a bit of a national treasure.
That's high praise.
Indeed, Zurich is a winter soup favorite of Tony Clary, who was raised in the Boston area before he spent 23 years living and working in Poland. He considers Zurich to be absolutely delicious, and he tells Mashed that it makes for a hearty starter to cold weather meals. Clary also notes that Zurich is often mistaken for another thick white soup, known as biała borscht. However, biała borscht gets its sour tang from fermented wheat flour rather than from rye.
Right,
Furthermore,
yeah.
as Clary describes it, Zurich is a soup that's both thick and hearty, which stands in contrast to the lighter biala borscht. Biala borscht is a
I noticed it's been served in between bread, like the bread shaped stuff. Why?
tasty Polish soup typically eaten on Easter morning. It contains sausage, eggs, potatoes, and other ingredients that contain a significant amount of religious symbolism. Thick and white and garnished with a hard-cooked egg, biala borscht is also known as Polish white borscht, and could easily be confused for our previous selection of Zurich. In fact, some people will use the term Zurich and biala borscht as if they are interchangeable. However, as previously noted, Zurich gets its sour flavor from fermented rye flour, whereas biala borscht gets its sour flavor from fermented wheat flour. In addition, biala borscht has more of a spring soup feel, as opposed to a hearty consistency that's more appropriate for colder weather. And that may help explain why it is that Zurich is associated with winter holidays, whereas biala borscht is associated with Easter.
No, thank you, Easter Bunny. Buck, buck.
The word borscht refers to a category of soups, and there are hundreds of them, which feature well-simmered beetroot as their fundamental ingredient. The particular borscht, known as borscht czerwona, is distinguishable from other borschts by its authentic beet red color, its clean consistency, and the fact that it's almost transparent. Essentially, compared to most other borscht, borscht czerwona is more brothy than stewy, which means that the beet flavor really shines through. Although borscht czerwona can be served in a bowl, some people prefer to serve and consume it drink style, from clear glassware or mugs. It's also often adorned with dill or other fresh green herbs, and sometimes with a bit of sour cream. And for many Polish families, borscht czerwona is a long-standing Christmas Eve tradition.
Maybe it'll be like the new Christmas tradition.
When the topic of summer soups comes up in America, our minds tend to go immediately to brightly colored gazpachos or lightly spiced broth-based vegetable soups like minestrone or summer vegetable. What we don't tend to conjure up at this time of year is images of thick and creamy soups. But over in Poland, one of the most popular and classic summer soups is a creamy type of borscht that's served cold. It's commonly referred to as chłodnik, although that term is also used to refer generally to any number of cold summer soups. The style of chłodnik that refers specifically to creamy cold borscht starts with simmered beets. Then, the resulting dark red beet broth is blended with cucumbers, radishes, and milk products, including yogurt, kefir, or sour cream. As described by Taste Atlas, the result is a refreshing, vibrant pink soup that ideally soothes the heat. Like Zurich, chłodnik is also garnished with hard-cooked eggs. And like other borscht, it may also be garnished with dill, and it can occasionally also include meat. In Polish, the word kielbasa refers generically to all Polish sausage, of which there are many varieties. These include biała kielbasa, which is a white uncured sausage with a strong hit of marjoram in its flavor profile, cabanosy, which is closer to a Slim Jim than what you might typically think of as sausage, and wędzona, which is a smoked pork sausage that's been cured with garlic, sugar, and salt. Wędzona kielbasa is dark red with a shiny, wrinkly exterior. If it looks familiar to you, it's probably because it's usually the variety that's sold in American supermarkets as polska kielbasa. This type of kielbasa has a strong, garlicky flavor profile and often comes in a horseshoe shape, fully cooked and ready to be eaten right out of the package. As we just mentioned, in Poland, the word kielbasa refers to any variety of Polish sausage, and there's definitely more than one type of Polish sausage. We've also just established that the one known as wędzona is generally the variety that's sold as polska kielbasa in American supermarkets, even if the label doesn't say wędzona. But there's another variety of kielbasa that you really need to try, and that is cabanosy. Cabanosy is sometimes referred to as a hunter's sausage. That means, according to the S. Clyde Weaver blog, it's more like what you'd think of as a meat snack stick rather than sausage you'd serve as part of a meal. Just like the red, wrinkly, horseshoe-shaped wędzona kielbasa, cabanosy is also ready to eat right out of the package. Furthermore, it's also shelf-stable since it's smoked and dried. Kasha is the Russian word for porridge, which is a cereal made by cooking hulled, crushed grains in a liquid such as water or milk. The Polish version of kasha is kasha, which is pronounced the same but spelled with a Z instead of an H. Polish kasha is made from the hulled seeds of the buckwheat plant, which isn't actually a grain at all. Nevertheless, hulled buckwheat seeds cook up into porridge the way wheat and other grains do. They're often referred to as buckwheat groats, and they're a good source of protein and antioxidants. When buckwheat groats are toasted first, they deliver what can be considered a rich and nutty flavor. Polish kasha is the resulting porridge made from cooking buckwheat groats, and it can be used for both sweet and savory dishes. And when prepared with mushrooms and onions, kasha is a popular Polish breakfast food. Beef stroganoff is yet another example of a Polish food that has strong cultural ties to another country.
Beef stroganoff, isn't that getting a little loose with the language?
In this case, that country
Yes,
is Russia,
again.
which occupied Poland for many years. The generally accepted history of this particular dish is that a French chef in the employ of a rich St. Petersburg family created it for a cooking contest in 1891. The custom of the day was to name the prize-winning dish after his employer, who was a man by the name of Stroganov. What most people think of as beef stroganoff is essentially the dish that came out of that contest. It's comprised of thin strips of beet, apparently thin enough to be chewed by the dentally challenged Mr. Stroganov. Those strips have been slow-cooked with mushrooms and onions and a thick sour cream sauce. By contrast, Polish beef stroganoff has a thinner sauce and makes use of tomatoes. And in keeping with the Polish preference for sour tastes, classic Polish beef stroganoff also gets a hit of sour tang from dill pickles. The word golonka means knuckle in Polish. When used in the context of Polish cuisine, golonka refers to a hearty dish made by slow braising a cut of meat known as pork knuckle. The word knuckle may conjure images of fingers and joints spoiling for a fight, but in the case of pork knuckle, it actually refers to the meaty upper part of the pig's leg. Pork knuckle is sometimes referred to as pork shank, and when it's smoked or cured, it's known as ham hock. For Polish golonka, the braising liquid typically includes beer, which lends the pork a pleasantly sour note that many of the other Polish foods on this list also possess. According to Polish housewife blogger Lois Britton, it's fantastic with a little sauerkraut, maybe some boiled potatoes, and roasted vegetables. It's a Polish classic. If you can find it, cook it. Potato pancakes supposedly owe their existence to a mass planting of potatoes in Poland and Ukraine during the 19th century. This made potatoes abundant and inexpensive, which led people to think of creative ways to substitute this tuber for other ingredients in their cooking. One example included swapping shredded potatoes for ricotta cheese and the cheese pancakes that had traditionally been enjoyed on the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. Not only did this catch on within the Polish Jewish community, it was also embraced by the general Polish population at large. If you haven't tried potato pancakes, you absolutely need to rectify that immediately. Grate a potato and an onion. While you drain them in a colander, beat together an egg, 2 tablespoons of flour, and a dash of salt and pepper. Fold in the potatoes and onions, form patties, and fry them to a crispy golden brown. Naleśniki is the Polish word for very thin, flexible pancakes that are meant to be rolled around a filling, whether sweet or savory. If that sounds like the beginning of a rolled French crepe to you, then you're on the right track. The difference is that in Poland, naleśniki comprised the beginning not of crepes per se, but rather of blintzes. Like its French equivalent, the blintz is a thin and flexible pancake that's been rolled around a sweet or savory filling. However, the classic recipe for blintzes involves an extra step, which is pan-frying the rolled and stuffed pancake so that the filling becomes warm and melty, and the exterior develops a golden brown color. If you do decide to try this particular Polish food, be forewarned that it could leave you wondering why on earth the French don't pan-fry their crepes after they've been rolled.
What's up with that?
New York and bagels go together like Wisconsin and cheese. Despite that enduring association, this particular bread product's origins actually lie elsewhere. It turns out that the story of bagels can be traced back to Poland, specifically the city of Krakow. As legend has it, the first bagel was rolled in 1683 to resemble the Polish king's stirrup. However, as reported by Smithsonian Magazine, written records from Krakow indicate that bagels were being rolled, parboiled, and baked since at least as
Wow.
early as 1610. That appears to be the earliest written reference to this dense, chewy bread with a pleasantly crisp exterior. Today, an estimated 150,000 bagels are sold in Krakow alone every single day, whether
Wow.
at bakeries, shops, or even on street carts. Considering the bagel's current ubiquity, it's unlikely that we even need to convince you to indulge in this now classic Polish street food. But at least now you can tell yourself that you're doing it in the name of history and culture.
Oh, great. So much for bagels.
If you're a fan of eggnog,
Bagels.
then you really need to know about the sweet and eggy Polish treat known as gogol-mogol. This dessert dates back to Poland and Russia's Jewish communities of the 1700s. It's creamy and drinkable, and its primary ingredients are egg yolks and sugar. Vanilla, cocoa, honey, and even alcoholic beverages may be added to enhance the experience. There is one primary difference between eggnog and its Central European cousin, and that is that eggnog contains milk and/or cream, whereas gogol-mogol does not. Since it avoids milk, which is a throat irritant for some people, gogol-mogol can be used not only as a delicious drinkable dessert treat, but also as a comforting remedy for a sore throat or a scratchy voice, especially when it's
Wow.
served warm. In fact, it's even been said that Barbra Streisand's mom gave it to her as a child in order to strengthen her vocal cords. Even in
That's
the off
nice.
chance that nothing else in this roundup of Polish foods has you searching for authentic Polish restaurants near you, Karpatka may still change your mind. Seriously, this one is a major crowd pleaser that even counted the late Pope John Paul II among its fans. Well, sort of. The Polish-born former head of the Catholic Church was known to have had a soft spot for a slightly fancier version of Karpatka that was known as kremówka, which has since been renamed Papal cream cake in honor of the late pontiff. Kremówka consists of 2 layers of well-laminated puff pastry and a thick layer of smooth vanilla-flavored cream. Karpatka is basically the same thing as Papal cream cake, except that the pastry layers consist of the far
That's
less
good.
work-intensive pâte à choux, which is a simple pastry dough that doesn't require the additional layering in of butter that pastry dough's lamination requires. And why is it called Karpatka? The top layer of pâte à choux develops delicate peaks, and when they're dusted with confectioner's sugar, they're said to resemble the snow-covered Carpathian Mountains, which run through Poland and other parts of Central and Eastern Europe. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more mashed videos about your favorite foods are
One thing for sure, I know I would love to try because it can be homemade, yeah, is the potato pancake. And I love how she did the breakdown of how to make it actually. Is kind of ingredients, or should I say things we have in the kitchen. I'm just going to work with it and try that out because why not, you guys? And this food, wow, I never knew Poland has a lot of food. Although some of the history of the food is not dated to Poland alone, it has its roots in sometimes Germany, in Russia, in Italian. Those are the significant countries that actually have roles in most of Poland dishes. And altogether, this was actually very amusing to watch. I really want to try out their food. I was actually looking at the food and I'm salivating, trying, thinking of when can I or restaurant around that make Polish meal I can actually try out for myself. But altogether, this is a nice one, nice food packed together. You guys have variety of food for real, and I would love to give that a big bite and taste. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. You guys, well, tell me your favorite Polish meal down below. I love you guys. See you guys on my next one. Do not forget to like, subscribe to the channel. This channel also have a membership platform, and I'm also very active on Patreon. The membership on my Patreon is where I upload my musical reactions. I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye, loves.